In this video, we're going to take a look at Microsoft Word and how students can use it to make their lives a whole lot easier. So we're going to take a look at things that Word does instead of using other sources. So the first thing that I want to take a look at is many non-native English speakers will have Microsoft Word, but they will have the spell check in another language. So one of the first things I always tell my students to do is to go up here in the top left and go to Word Preferences. And then you can see right here is spelling and grammar. Because I'm constantly, as I'm reading first drafts, finding spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes that Word would easily pick up, but it's not set to that language. So if you're writing in English, you would pick English, right? Or if you're writing in, well, a lot of my current students, I'm in China, so have Chinese as their language, and it doesn't check the spelling in English, the spelling or grammar for English. So just make sure this is set up correctly. The next thing is a lot of second language students are much better at speaking and listening than they are at writing and reading. So when you're talking, their grammar is good, or they can notice grammar mistakes, but when they're writing, they make these same mistakes. So one of the things that Word does is read aloud. So you can just click somewhere and click read aloud.
It seems that sometimes people need to be told things that many of us take for granted.
So it will just, I don't know why it's got the creepy computer voice. It's 2022 when I'm making this video, so we should be able to have a better voice by now. But the nice thing is, like I said, you can just, when you're writing the whole thing, I know there's other websites that check your grammar and everything, but a lot of times I think this is very easy. It takes only a matter of minutes to sit and listen to it, and a lot of times you can pick things up. I wanted to show too, we set up the grammar, especially when students are writing, let's say a 4,000 word essay, but they're at 4,200 words and they need to figure out what to cut. A lot of times they don't need to cut content. If you look, Word will say, I have here society as a whole, which is exactly what I want, but according to them, I could be more concise and just say society. So here's a way that you could cut 3 words, and again, if you look throughout there, you might be able to cut quite a few words if it's a long paper. Alright, so now to the good stuff. I know a lot of students use things like Noodle Tools and EasyBib and all of these things, and I have always just used Word because it does absolutely all of this stuff for you. So here's my recommendation, students, is let's say you're writing an essay, you're just starting, you have to do research and everything. So when you first start the process, open Word, create a document, and save it as whatever it's going to be, right? And then so before you even start researching, because then what you can do is you can just put your sources in as you're finding them. So right here, up here, the tab that says references, you'll see in the middle we've got insert citations, and we get to pick what that is. So I'm just going to click on this little book looking thing that says citations, and you notice this pops up over here. Now I already have some sources in here just to make things easier for this video. So the first thing to note is we pick which style we want. You want APA, Chicago, Harvard, MLA. For those of you doing IB, a lot of your teachers will tell you it has to be MLA or it has to be whatever. That's really just for them. The IBO has said we don't care what style you use, we just want you to be consistent throughout the document, and as long as you're giving, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you make a mistake or you have a comma instead of a semicolon in your bibliography, they don't care. They just want to make sure that you're giving credit where credit is due. That's all they care about. Okay, so your teacher is wrong if they tell you it has to be a certain way. So how I added these in here, down here at the bottom, you just click the little plus. And then, so let's say you find a source and you think, oh, this is good, I'm going to use this, right? So you just go in here. This happens all the time. My students will like write all their stuff and get all their information, and they forgot to do citations. So then they have to go back and find the sources and do all that kind of stuff. So let's say I'm looking at a website, right? one thing that people very frequently forget, by the way, this says bibliography fields for APA. It tells you all of the information that you need. Now there are more fields. You can down here click show all fields, right? Um, but it's saying for APA, this is what's needed. And it's different for MLA. MLA wants when you accessed it and all of that other kind of stuff. So, but for APA, they don't care about that. So we put in the author. A lot of times people skip this because they say, oh, I just got it from this website. But if you go to that page, very frequently go to the bottom or look up at the top. Usually you can find the author of who wrote it. If you don't have the author, you can just put in unknown, but don't just put in unknown, like look for the author. If 6 of your 10 sources say unknown, they're just going to think you were lazy and you didn't even look to find the author. So try to find it. So we put in the author, the name of the web page, the name of the website, and the URL. So what does all that mean? So it could be the website is the general site, like whatever.com, right? The name of the web page is maybe it's a sub page of that website. And then we actually just put the URL here. And it could be that pretty much all of these are the same, right? Chess.com, chess.com, chess.com. So, and a year, month, and day of when whatever this thing was written. Again, do your best at finding that. So then if we look at, here's a book, right? We've got author, title, city, publisher, year. Notice it doesn't have pages in here, but I'll show you that in a bit. Because even if you put pages, like, okay, you use page 92 to 140, they still want the specific page or pages that you got a specific piece of information from. So I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then we've got book section, article in a journal, article in a periodical. We've got electronic source, we've got a performance, an interview, a film. So there's all sorts of different things, and you just fill those out, and then here. So then you have a list of these sources that you used, right? So you found this, you found that, you took some notes, you did all that. Now when you're writing, this is super easy. So here I'm writing this paragraph. One quick note, some students think that you only have to use a citation if you do a quotation. That's 100% false. If you got information from somewhere, you have to cite where you got that information from. Unless it's common knowledge that pretty much everyone knows, you're going to have a lot of these. IBO doesn't require this. When I was at university, my university required that every paragraph had to have a citation, which was kind of weird. I think the intro and conclusion were the only 2 paragraphs that didn't need them, and every other paragraph did, right? So again, if you're writing about some pretty hefty stuff, you probably got the information from somewhere. So here's the thing, I have my list of sources. I'm writing this paragraph, cool. So I'm going to say that this one came from this source here. All I have to do is double click, and you can see it puts the citation right here, right? Now let's say my next paragraph starts with a quotation. Okay, so let's make that right. So here we have a quotation. Then you obviously put this right after, and you put your citation in right there. But then, so even though you cited this, if this rest of this information isn't quotation, but you still got the information from that same source, you cite it again, right? So it's totally fine to have 2 of the same one. You can't just put it at the end and say this whole paragraph is from there. Certainly with a citation, you need one right afterwards. So then we can just go through here and say, okay, this one came from this source. We just click, see how easy this is, right? We just put this one, sorry, that shouldn't be there. We put this one in, and you just go through the entire thing and add the things that you need, right? So I'm just going to pop some of these in here and just show you, like, as we're going through, how easy it is. Instead of typing in, like, okay, great, you take EasyBib and you have your bibliography, and now you can just pop that in, but now you still have to go still and put all of these citations in, right? So, but here, since I did my bibliography, or, well, I will do my bibliography, but I have my sources here in Word, I'm just clicking around, and this is only 5 sources. You might have 10 or 20 or however many you have, right? So let's just add a couple more. This is all stuff from me, so we'll just use that from here. So here, well, okay, we have all these things. Now, here's the problem. Some of these are probably books, and if you can't remember, you can always just right click on here. Oh, no, right click is out. Down here on the bottom, you say edit source, and this one says it's a book. Okay, so here's this book. Great. So let's say, let me go up and find one from Hague. Here's one now. So, but we need, it's a book, but IB requires that I have a page number, or APA, or whatever style it is. So all I have to do is click on the citation. You see this little arrow on the right hand side? You click there, say edit this citation, and it says right here, pages. This is on page 87, done. Okay, this one, do the same thing, edit this, and let's say this was 87 to 90, right? Done. So super quick and easy to edit these, add the page numbers, and we're done with our citations. So let's take a look down here. Let's go to the end. So I'm just going to go to the end down here, and now I'm going to say bibliography. I click the word bibliography. It thinks about it for a second. I click bibliography, and here you go. Here's my bibliography. Here are all of my, usually we put in page break in here so that we have this down here. But here are all of them in APA style, right? I didn't have to type anything, I didn't have to do anything, didn't have to copy paste, I just clicked bibliography. Now let's say you do this on your first draft, and then your supervisor says, hey, you need another source for this, blah, blah, blah. So you end up changing it, right? So we add a source in here. I'm not going to do it now for sake of time, but all you have to do is go up here, it says bibliography, and you can say update citations in bibliography. So it'll add that. The other thing is, if you don't want to do that, you can actually just click this thing and delete it, because then all you have to do is go back to references and click bibliography again. So if you've changed your sources and stuff and you want a new bibliography, then just delete yours, and it's one click to put a new one in. Alright, so that citation is done. Alright, so super quick and easy, much better than some of the other ways of doing it. I want to add just a few more things on here, things to make your life easier. One of them is if you have, this is a graph, and let's say you made this graph, alright? So you still need a caption on it. So right here, we're already in the references section. Here's all of our citations. I click on this guy and I click insert caption. Now it's going to say, okay, figure 1, and I'm going to put a label in here. Temperature versus time made by student. This means you didn't just copy this from somewhere. I did copy it from somewhere, but that doesn't matter, right? So we can put that here, okay? So now it says, hey, look, figure 1. We need that on every picture, every graph, everything like that. So here's a picture. So I'm going to say insert caption. Figure 2, right? And then let's say I got this from a website. I've already copied this in here. So you just copy the website in, done. Right? So now we know where this picture came from, and we're giving credit to that. If you have a picture, a table, a graph, anything without a caption, the IB assumes, and other sources, assume that you didn't give credit where credit is due, so that's plagiarism. So something as simple as not putting a caption with a source for a picture that you got from whatever, Google Images or whatever, that is plagiarism. So you automatically probably get a 0. Alright, the next thing I want to show you, not all papers require a table of contents, and if you don't need one, don't do one, right? But I'm going to show you the quick, super easy way to do that with just some simple things in Word itself. So here's the title, right? I can go up here and click title, right? And then here's what I'm going to do. So imagine an outline. You have the first tier, the second tier, the third tier. That's heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. So I'm going to take this first one and I'm going to call that heading 1. Okay? And this one is going to be a heading 2. This is a heading 1, I think. And it's changing the font and everything. You can go in and change that. I'll let you figure that out. But here's heading 2. And then let's just say for fun that this is a heading 3. And then this one is a heading 1 again. This one's a heading 2. And this one's a heading 3. This seems like a lot of work, but you would be doing it as you're writing, so it's no big deal. So now I go up here, right, and let's say I'm going to insert a page break. And then on this page, I'm going to, oops, there we go. I'm just going to insert, oops, I was just on it. Under this reference tab again, remember this is where we did our citations, we did our captions. I can also do table of contents. So all I do is click table of contents, I pick which one I want, we'll just pick the classic one, and here's your table of contents. You don't have to put all these little periods in here and blah blah blah, and you can see heading 1, heading 2, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. So however you want your outline or whatever, you just use heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 for the different levels of your outline. Again, you turn in your first draft, you have to change a bunch of stuff. What you can do is just go up to here, click on table of contents, after you've changed everything, you can say update table. And it'll ask you, do you want to update the page numbers or the entire table? You can just say the entire table and say okay. Now we haven't changed anything. The other thing, like I said before, is you can just delete this table of contents and just insert it again with all of your new stuff. They're both just as easy. The other thing you can do from here is, let me go up one, if you need a cover page. So now we just go to insert cover page, and we can pick which style. You can actually go online and download more styles or whatever, but let's say you like this one right here, so you just click on it, and this one can have picture, document title, subtitle, and abstract, right, all of this stuff. So you can fill all that out, and now you have your title page, your table of contents. This is all formatted with headings. You've got your citations, you've got the captions on all of your figures and graphs and pictures, and we've got your bibliography. All done in Word. You're done. You don't need anything else. You don't need any other program. So Word can do it all.